Well, I suppose when it comes to choosing plants for our gardens, it's natural that we look for ones with plenty of color. We're really looking for ones that are going to make impact all through the garden. But you know, sometimes it's nice to have ones that smell sweetly too. And when it comes to choosing a shrub with lots of beautiful fragrance, it's very hard to beat the Philadelphus. And in particular, I want to show you this nice variety that's called Snowbelle, because this is one that I think really deserves to be planted a good deal wider. Certainly here on the nursery, we're very fond of it. As you see, it's loaded with lots of buds. The first flowers are just now opening, and as they open, they're releasing that wonderful kind of zesty citrus fragrance, sweet citrus fragrance that you get from Philadelphus, and why of course they're often called by the common name of Mockorange. What's interesting about this variety is that it's nice and compact, only growing about 4 foot high. Now, in my early days learning and working with plants, I used to see a lot of Philadelphus. I'd see them all over the place because they're easy to grow, they're tough, they're very adaptable, they're resilient, they'll grow on a wide variety of soil types, even heavy clay soils. And in those days, it was interesting that they were succeeding in cities and towns where there was a lot of industrial pollution, and you'd often see plants that are covered with lots of kind of soot and smoke and, you know, inner city grime, and yet they were growing and thriving under that sort of situation. Well, today, thankfully, we don't have nearly as much of that to deal with. But the thing I remember most about those Philadelphus in those days, and that is that they were great big brutes. They grew 6, 8, 10 foot tall sometimes. Big stalky plants that were pretty when they were in flowering, but it was way above your head. Now with this variety being only 4 foot high, you get a much more compact plant so that you're able to enjoy these very pretty flowers and nice bright green foliage too. Here's a plant that it's important to mention flowers on the wood that was made the previous year. So if you're going to grow this variety, it's important that you go in, if you want to prune it and work with it, and remove the old growth when it finishes flowering. That then encourages new fresh growth to come from inside the crown of the plant, and they're the shoots that are going to carry the buds and flowers next year. So just remember that. It's a kind of by the way comment. So here's a shrub that's zone 4, that's very pretty, that's easy to grow, will put up with a wide variety of soil types, it's very adaptable and literally very easy to grow, that produces masses of these beautiful double white flowers that are just opening now, and will give your gardens a really delightful fragrance. Would be lovely if you cut some of these and bring them in and put them into vases, etc. What's interesting about this variety is that it was raised in Ottawa in Canada by the Department of Agriculture Research Station there. D.R. Sampson made the cross way back in 1956. What's interesting is that he crossed a standard, one of those big strong growing varieties I was talking about called virginal. He crossed it with Mantodermine, a little compact growing French variety that only gets to about 2.5 foot high. And the resultant seedling that was then released during the 1960s was in between both of those. Compact, bushy, beautiful white flowers, and all the other things I told you about before. So here's a variety that's as tough as nails, that's easy to grow, has gorgeous white flowers, and has a really delicious fragrance. It's called Philadelphus Snowbelle, and as you see, it's beautifully sweetly scented. I think it's one that you're really going to enjoy having in the garden.